Hello, Lacey.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm alright.
Good. Well, last time we talked a lot about your friendships and how you're feeling about that, opening up to them. We talked a little bit about the two-sided feeling of, well, if they give something, I'm going to give something back. And we also talked about vulnerability and that releasing that emotion of knowing that you have to be honest and open in friendships. So just tell me a little bit more how you're doing this week and how that went for you.
Yeah. It's good. I think, I am starting to get more friends and in that. I think I'm still avoiding the vulnerability thing and the one-sidedness is still a factor of, I guess, my thinking processes in that. But I think the part that I came in was that I don't have, like, I'm depressed and I don't have friends and I'm always in my room, which I feel like that's changing. But with that change comes the change of, okay, well, I don't talk to my friends about anything, so, but it is getting better for sure.
Good. So it sounds like you recognize the growth that you've had, but you had mentioned now it's time to go deeper into those friendships.
Yeah. And that's the part too that's always been hard for me is like once it starts getting to that point, like I pursue it until it gets there, right? So I'm like, I am very excited about the friendship and meeting new people. I love meeting new people. And I think it's probably because I don't have to talk about anything deep with them, just small talk and getting to know them. But then once it gets to that point that stronger connections and conversations are necessary, I start to back away. And I think I'm getting to that point. So that's kind of scary.
Yeah, that sounds like you are nervous about hitting that next step. Tell me more about why you think it scares you to get more vulnerable with those friendships.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I just have always been very to myself about my feelings in everything, always. And it's been like that in my family and friends in high school, and I'm just not used to it, and I think it just scares me to open up to people and let them into my little world, I guess.
It seems like you might be scared of judgment or even rejection.
Yeah. I think I've been kind of, I always say, like, I don't really care what people think about me, and they can think what they want, and, whatever. But it is true, thinking about it, like, if I don't have those conversations with people, it is still very surface level. And so when they do think those things about me, it's not very, like, doesn't mean much, because there's not much to go on. So that could be it, of just, like, if I do open up, and then it's like, they're just gonna leave me.
Leave you. Has that happened in the past?
I feel like I've lost a lot of friends, and I don't know, I feel like a lot of it is more on my part of pushing them away, but yeah.
It sounds like there's some worry there with this new friendships that you're making at college and getting nervous to that line of you're starting it and then I push them away and then we go back to where we started when we first started counseling.
Yeah, it's like a full circle that it's not a good circle. It's a spiny circle.
Describe to me what your friendships in high school look like compared to now.
I think, it was now that I feel like I'm with these people, my friends, all the time, just because college and you live in the dorm and you have classes with them. And whereas in high school, I didn't hang out with them much. Like I had classes and then kind of we went our own way, you know. So I mean, I've definitely been with these friendships and these people more often than I did in high school. But I think other than that, like the amount that we're putting into it of like conversation and things like that are about the same.
So that distance physically kind of was different in high school than in college.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and I think that might be what's hard about it is like, it's in high school, we had that distance, right? And it was easier to stay separated and stay and keep and not be vulnerable, right? And but now that we are with each other all the time and we're learning more things constantly, it's, I feel like the trek to being more involved in your relationships is going by faster, and it's scaring me.
Yeah, there's not that distance emotionally
Mhm.
like you had in high school.
Yeah. It's like the physical closeness is forcing me to be emotionally close quicker than it was in high school.
Sounds like you're having kind of a hard time trying to figure out that line of how far do I go? And like we talked about last session, we talked a lot about the one-sided, two-sided thing. And so tell me a little bit more about how you're feeling about that, like the friendships with the two-sided, even if there are some one-sided.
Yeah. I think I've always loved to hear people tell me, you know, what's wrong, and I've always been there for people, and that's kind of always been my role in the friend groups that I've had, and it just kind of happens naturally. And so, in this, like with people coming to me and having those conversations, it makes me feel good to be there for them, and that they can trust me enough to do that, and they count on me to kind of be their listening ear. But then again, sometimes I feel bad that like I can't do it back, and they'll ask me questions, and I just don't want to respond, or I avoid the topic, or I avoid them enough to where the topic doesn't come up again, and so that I feel like it's kind of that one-sided.
It's more natural for you to listen to them and to give advice rather for them to listen to you.
Yeah, and for me to like talk about myself too, even like casual, close to the surface conversations, it's difficult. Like for me to talk about myself, and not necessarily difficult as in like I am in agony doing it, but just that I always go back to bringing the conversation on them. Just that's what I'm used to. You know, I'll answer a quick little question about myself, and then tell me about you. You know, and then it'll end up being on them, which is fine, and I love it, and it's great. But I think I just need to learn how to. It's okay to talk about myself sometimes. You know.
Do you feel like it might be a prideful thing that's happened in your past, or do you just feel like it's easier for them to talk about it than you? Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah. I'm kind of shy, and don't really, I've never been one to just kind of insert myself in conversation. And I don't like people like eyes on me, and I don't like just the attention on me. And so when talking about myself, it's what that is, you know. So it's kind of, it just is I'm very aware in that they're there for me, and it just makes me uncomfortable.
So it's more natural, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
What are your relationships with your family like?
Kind of the same. I have a rambunctious brother, and he is kind of my opposite in a lot of things. And so with that, like growing up with him, he's older than me, and he always made the decisions of where to go to eat and what to do and what to watch on TV, and so I learned to just be okay with a lot of things, and I I don't get bored easily, because I'm just used to doing what he wanted to do and talking about what he wanted to talk about. And so I think that might be where it stems from. It's just that's how I've grown up, is just kind of following him around in that. It's never been like the focus on me as much, I think.
Always been in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got comfortable there. It's hard to leave that comfort, I mean. I see friends that I have a few people in my life now that are, I can tell, kind of the same, who seem to be shy and seem to not want to talk about themselves. And I'm good at getting them to talk about themselves. Like I see that and I push them to talk, and I talk more. And it's kind of a more both-sided relationship, I think, or conversation anyway, just because I know more of where they're coming from. But then when there are people who talking comes easily, and I definitely take my place, I guess. I guess I feel like I'm placed in the background always, and that's where I belong, but
You said, where you belong.
yeah. That sounds sad. It's just where I've always been, and it just, again, it feels comfortable, and I'm used to it, and it's not doing anything new, it's what I'm used to.
And you mentioned how it's easier for you to get friends that are similar to you to open up, and then you feel comfortable in that way.
And I think sometimes I can pick those people out, and it's like, I know you, and this is me too, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing to do, because I feel like makes me even less inclined to do that or open up with people who aren't like that. But it also, it kind of is a good thing in ways that I am opening up to those people and finding people that I can do that with. And maybe those are just the people that I need to seek out and be open with. I don't know.
And bonding with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can help each other through it, I guess.
Relatability.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's been easier coming from when we first started in the counseling sessions, when you were alone and you had a lot of just hard times wanting to come out of your room? Tell me more about how that's been feeling for you lately with just, friendships and things like that.
Yeah. It's good. I've definitely still had my own time, and good amounts of it, I think healthy amounts of it. But I am enjoying hanging out with my friends and being there with them as well. And I think earlier when I was saying that it scares me, is that thinking about the relationships getting to a point where they're stronger and me pushing them away and then me getting back to the point where I don't want to leave. That kind of circle that you're talking about, I am scared that that's going to happen again. And so I feel like I'm kind of slowly decreasing the amount of time that I spend with him in order to keep the conversations light and not, get in depth. Because there's only so much that you can talk about what you ate in the cafeteria and until it gets to the point of how was your day and why was it that way, and so I kind of stay with them until it gets to the point where I think conversation might get deeper, and then bye. Get out of there. Yeah.
That cycle seems like it's been most of your your whole life is what you've been saying.
Yeah. It happens with my parents too. I think that's a big, when you were talking about family, it was kind of how I grew up with my brother and my parents, and so it started even before school probably, and then in high school, and now I guess it's hard to break a cycle that you've been doing your whole life.
You said that you notice whenever you get too close to people, you start to back away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, I just think it's that I don't want to talk about anything deep, and I don't know if it's, I just don't think they would understand, or like you mentioned, that they would think differently of me, or maybe I just don't know the answers to their questions. Just all of the above, I guess.
Scared to be wrong.
Yeah.
Scared to be lazy. Who you are.
Yeah. Which is weird though. I feel like, I am who I am only in my mind. Like Lacey is in here and no one else knows about it. So it's kind of like, how am I going to be her, like, outwardly? Me, I guess, not her. How am I going to be me?
Yeah, you've been her your whole life in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out to different friends as who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's comfortable in your head.
It is. Yeah. I think I'm at the point though that, even last week, I'm hopeful and I'm looking forward to having those conversations and getting closer relationships with people. And I feel like that's a better place to be comfortable. And, I think sometimes when you get uncomfortable, that's where you need to push, and that's where you need to keep going, because obviously something's working in you. See, I know that, and I say that, but I can't do it, or I don't do it.
You know it. It's just hard to do it.
Mm-hmm.
you never had to before.
Very true. And even now, like, I don't know if anyone's really expecting it from me. No one's expecting anything. It's really kind of on me. It's just something that I want to do. I don't know if I have to do it ever. If you think about it, I feel like my friends might be a little disappointed that I wouldn't be open with them and have strong communication with them, but it's just something that I want, and having to do it, I need to change, like, it should be something that I have to do. It should be.
You want it, but something's stopping you.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what. I probably do eventually.
Those scared self-expectations of who Lacey is, but then wanting to go and be fully who you are to other people is, like you said, we said it all the whole time, but like scary.
Yeah.
But you are holding yourself back.
Yeah. It really is, like, it is all me, And like I said, my friends aren't necessarily expecting anything different. It's just something that I want to do, but it's something that I also am not doing. Something that I know that I should do, but I can't. It's just like it's like both sides. Like, do this, but I can't. But you want to. No, I don't. It's difficult.
Mm-hmm. Like a war is going on, like in back and forth.
Right.